Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands. Welcome to an SP Reviews, where today we have ourselves some tracks from an act named Sweet Lily Love. And if we switch over to here, we have a blank screen. We're going to be watching two music videos today. We're going to be reviewing the audio associated with those music videos. This first track is called In the Sky, and we've got another one after that, so we're going to listen through each of these two tracks from start to finish. I'm going to hear what we think. Let's go. It's gorgeous immediately. Like an anime MV. An anime music video. Great little pause there. When we're obeying the law of adding a little bit extra each time without overtopping it, without overdoing it, I like the fact that we've come up with these instrumental layers. Some parts like the drums are quite, obviously they're quite fundamental, but then we've also got these extra sort of like synth layers on top that kind of add a little bit more suspense to it. And more. Nice balance of sound designer in the headphones. This actually kind of slaps. What I will say is that I think part of the audio-visual experience we're having here is all these bright colors, the really intense visuals, a lot's going on is helping. But I think that this track at the same time would be compelling on its own. But it always pays to just close your eyes when you're watching a music video. Our brains are always trying to fill in gaps, you know? A little solo section. Nice. Simple melodies and lyrics to get behind. And that riser, Chef's kiss, man. I mean, that was just incredible. That was incredibly well done. There's a lot of things I want to say about this track. I will save some of it for the conclusion. But to be clear, my feelings toward this one are very, very strong and they're very positive. We have a track here which has a lot of different fun interactions occurring. The synergy between the various elements within the mix, from the synths, the basses, the arpeggiators, the sequences, the leads, the pads, all that. The way the drums push us forward, the use of filtering, the riser placement being relatively minimalist with less of a focus on like builds and drops and stuff like that, and more of a kind of like there was a sense of continuity with it. The reverb tails with the vocals are tremendous. Very, very well done. Very strong track. And again, you've got to listen to it with your eyes closed when you're watching a music video, because if it doesn't sound good with your eyes closed, it ain't a good song. And that was not an issue here. Well done. Before I move on, I just want to say that I think the track is about two lovers sort of being skybound, falling through the clouds together. The anime, I assume, is talking about like powers or mystical stuff. You can see them going through the air later on. So I'm wondering if their power sends them ascending and they've got to kind of catch each other or get together in order to be able to get through it. I'm still got my thoughts on this one. I'll talk about it more at the end, but that's my initial interpretation. It's clearly how like they feel. Yeah, we'll give it some time. But now we've got Love Drain, track number 2. Oh, great filtering there with the low pass. Nice development of harmonies there. And we've got catchy bass lines and sort of easy to understand and comprehend progressions there. And I think we are kind of injecting some sort of popish elements here that make the track a little bit catchy, you know? The fundamentals are being adhered to. What I would say is that there was a lot going on lyrically within that bridge section or that build before, and it was almost like I was looking for some natural pauses just to allow a bit of time sort of mentally iterate upon what I just heard. It's good that we've got those feelings and we're telling them really well. And I didn't talk about the vocals of the previous track, but they were stunning. There was just a lot of other stuff that I was really happy about with the previous track as well. But to be fair, the story is integral. I've gotten the story clearly for both of these tunes, and just I'm wondering if there could have been potentially like a pause at some point at the halfway point of that previous bridge section, just because we just keep going and going. Not that it was bad to listen to, but yeah, pause would have been nice just to kind of like allow for there to be two halves. Hell of a kick to that drum. We're switching out the percussion here. I think I get what the track is about now. I kind of got it before, but I think it's been ingrained. And just keeps rising. That eventual crescendo. Or that continuous crescendo. And it was nice to have the vocals peter out and delay there. It was nice to have a lack of low end, in that last bit. Because for a lot of the track, there'd been this intense sort of rumble, the sub-bass resonance due to the way that things were notched within the frequency spectrum. It was just good to allow things to float for a moment. I think that track was a little bit raunchier with the vocal style because of the subject matter. We were discussing how this person is just, we put so much time and effort into them. We love this person. We just found that with someone else. It's just a terrible time. And you kind of get that exasperation comes through authentically within the vocal performance there. The notes are clean. The melodies and harmonies make sense and are stacked nicely and positioned nicely throughout the arrangement. The use of those synths, both the kind of buzzy ones, but also the sort of hypnotic, sort of like lighter leads there. The bass line just kind of serving through that sub resonance, and the drums just keeping going with not only just the quarter note kick accents, but also just the occasional kind of and at the end, like with the kind of a continuous kind of building up of that to that lighter finish. It's just really charming. And welcome to the conclusion of my review of these two tracks from Sweet Lily Love, titled In the Sky and Love Drain. Now, what do I think these tracks are about? I basically explained what I think Love Drain was about. In the Sky, I got more of a feeling of that just being sort of like a declaration of maybe maybe our love is being hindered. There, we're not entirely sure if we want to fully commit to this person, but there's a lot of passion there, and we kind of just want to like fly through the sky. Maybe that's how it makes us feel, Like being with that person makes us feel like we can fly, like we have superpowers, like it's a perfect world or something like that. But that said, I do feel as if I'm missing some nuance though, so if I have, then let me know in the comments. But I definitely feel like I had more of a grasp of what Love Drain was about. I think that the way that the story was told by the singers was great. It was very effective. It wasn't just that we had good vocal technique, we're comfortable in a head and chest voice and our vocal ranges. It wasn't just that we were consistent with that level of quality of performance. We knew how to sort of emote and sort of communicate with the listener in a way that made sense with the lyrics. Is that we somehow managed not only find a purpose for it within tracks which is so... They're quite busy, but not like in a way that's like a bad thing. It's more like they're so full because of how things have been stacked and niched in the frequency spectrum in the stereo field. There's a lot going on even without the vocal parts, right? But like In the Sky, the first verse, that first sort of message came through so sweetly. It was the damn near flawless in its entrance. And it's kind of like one of those things where, like when you swear you knew something but you never said you did until the moment you were wrong about it or something like that, or when you were surprised by it. That was one of those moments. It's like it makes so much sense in retrospect that the singer would come in at that point in the track, but you couldn't have necessarily known it beforehand, especially if you weren't necessarily familiar with Sweet Lily Love's work. And even if you were, there's such a variety of the way we approach these tracks. Some of them are more instrumental, some of them are more vocal focused. But I think we explored not only the vocalists' capabilities within this and their merits extremely well, we also we made tracks which were catchy with their hook lines and memorable with the stories that they told, or the tales that they told. And I don't think we needed to do anything differently there. It was also a nice addition of like the reverb and delay tails to make them sort of like misty and help them sort of like mix into the rest of the elements of the arrangement really sweetly. That's my cat, by the way. If you see the tail, she's decided to sit on my knee. I just think it was really wonderfully done. So I think the vocals, they were great. They made sense with the stories that were told. And yeah, stellar. I would recommend you listen to both these tracks if you're unsure of my takes on the stories, just to kind of get sort of the glimpse on your own. The tracks outside of that, Both of them were within that 2 to 4 minute sweet spot, I think, in a way which was really satisfying. There was no filler. The tracks couldn't have been shorter because the amount of stuff we had stacked into it was absolutely tremendous. We had a really wonderful array of different synth bass line, drum parts, and sort of vocal bits, just in a way that was very satisfying to listen to. There were constant peak and troughs. We never had too much of one thing. Never overstayed its welcome, even with Love Drain, where there was a fairly heavy prominence of the hook line as sort of like to emphasize the more poppy kind of influences of it. It nonetheless worked, and it never overstayed its welcome. There was even like a synth solo or something like that, and In the Sky, which I thought was wonderful. It was nice to step away from that sort of focal point and go to a separate lead. And we don't have a lot of, as far as I can remember at this point, I don't think we've had a whole lot of solo sections in Sweet Lily Love's work. A lot of the kind of like the trance, like the other elements that Sweet Lily Love has worked with haven't maybe necessarily allowed for like dedicated solo sections, but I'd recommend we try them out and have some fun with it, you know? They're versatile instruments and we can clearly play, so why not? If I talk about a few of the instruments I really appreciated here, I think that the drums were incredible. We had the chord no kicks, the accents there when they came in, which wasn't all the time, thankfully. Not because I don't like them being there, but because I think that if you have too much of a good thing, it can spoil it. When the drums were in with the chord no grooves there was an effective focus on like the kicks, the snares, and then some of the cymbal parts there. And we did mix it up with different 8th and 16th note melodies, sort of beats there. We didn't necessarily go into triplets too much, but I think that's all we really needed there. There were some loops and risers and sort of like doubling and coupling of things in a way where like that was traditional sort of for the genres, that electronic stuff involved. And we had moments where things were sort of like barren and we didn't have those drums at all and we missed them. When they came again, it was very satisfying. I think that they not only had a way of poking their nose in and becoming more sort of prominent so you pay attention to them, but when they also had a way of kind of like sort of melding into the ether in a way where it was just you knew they were there, you could rely on them, you know, they were faithful. The bass lines were tremendous as well, I think, especially in Love Train, just like that boiler house kind of room, just you know, like the sub bass resonance, how it sizzled. It was so vibrant and full of life, even though it was mostly in that low end there. It had a place nicely tuned and sidechained by those kicks, and it just sucker punched you. But it wasn't too heavy, it wasn't too ferocious, it didn't diminish the more sort of brighter, shinier elements of the arrangement, and just really put us in a position where we felt like this is a commercial grade production. I think the way that the synths on top as well, to be fair, the synths were a lot of the folks instrumentally, but they had their own sort of purposes, whether it was the sequences, the arpeggiators, the pads, which were sort of like, you know, around the outside kind of making things nice and full sounding, or the leads to kind of cascade on top or serve a sort of more directional purpose. We have a fundamental understanding of what these different types of synths do, which is so incredibly vital for this kind of music. And we know how to implement them in a way which is not only effective but satisfying. And we highlighted the various melodies and harmonies within this track and the different movements, because we didn't just have a traditional sort of 4-chord like bass line for each of these two tracks. Like there was variation in the way that we presented the In the Sky one. We had like a change of notes in the first and second halves of which was dope. I liked the fact that it wasn't just kind of continuous looped. And Love Drain was a bit more sort of like more sort of conservative in that respect, but we had enough going on with the various sort of like major and minor bluesy sort of tendencies and like the vocal parts to kind of get away with that. And it was meant, I think, to be more of a singlish kind of track. The textures and tones we used for the synth melded well with each other, and there was nothing that poked out or screamed that was out of place, and I adore that a lot. In a genre where you can get away with some pretty wild stuff, you know, depending on the style you go for, I think that we managed to keep it interesting whilst also giving us sort of like unique perspective on it. I think ultimately the themes for these two tracks matched the styles very well. We had an intense sort of frustration and kind of pushing forward with Love Drain, where like we could tell we were working through stuff and we're edging on it, and we were just really kind of having a rough time just trying to sort of dance our way through it. And with you know, In the Sky, we kind of floated with a lot of the higher kind of elements there in a harmony that didn't really necessarily know how to sort of conclude itself. It sounded unsure of itself, like a little bit sort of precarious, but at the same time there appeared to be a sense of hope given the different progressions we had there, the different chord choices, the lack of complexity with extensions and stuff like that. And ultimately both were well done, in made sense with the stories. Finally, the studio recording, mixing, and mastering. I think that we did incredibly well with that. No complaints whatsoever with the way things were EQ'd and filtered. The vocals, they were the raw takes were done well, and then we had again EQ reverbs and delays added to them to kind of flesh them out, make them a bit more sort of like mystical sounding. That kind of suited the rest of the arrangement. Things were nicely niched in the frequency spectrum, no weird resonant frequencies there. These were nice and wide in the stereo field with automation of some of like the filtering and stuff like that, which was satisfying to listen to. You know, like especially again with Love Drain, how like we came with the we kind of like messed around with the low pass filters. We have an adept understanding how to use those as well in a way that's effective. There was dynamic range to these two tracks. It weren't the same loudness the whole entire time, which I'm thankful for, because that can make this sort of music kind of monotonous, and that's not what we needed here. That would have ruined it regardless of how interesting the songwriting was. And then finally, it was nice and loud without pumping, so the busting, limiting compression was handled. I mean, this is effectively my review of these two tracks from Sweet Little Love, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show them some love via their various social medias and their website, and stay cool and stay safe. And please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they either have more than ever thought of crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next review.